before I go to the types of investors, my friends, so we know a lot and we heard a lot about the startup ecosystem. I believe that you already had some nice journey with the program with Incubation Center of the University of Bahrain. So I believe that you are familiar with the expressions like angel investors, like venture capitals, like acceleration programs, incubation centers, the Series A of investment, Series B of investment, seed fund of investments, all of these expressions that you can easily find it, you can Google it. And as long as you are a startup in Bahrain and you are in the ecosystem, you will hear it a lot. But I just want to be very focused and comprehensive with you. All of the investors you will be here, starting from the angel investor, the guy that they are coming in the very early stages of the project, till the big venture capitals and big corporate VCs, they are coming in the Series C and the big acquisitions of the company, or the full acquisition, or even to go to the stock markets at the end. To this stage one day, inshallah. So, but all of them actually are divided in two types of investors. Just two not in a very long-term investment routes. So they want to maximize their financial returns over a specified period of time. A financial investor, they want to make sure their money is being put to use, because we have seen this too many times, guys, that, and I will tell you about this when we talk about the values, but it's very important for the investor that they see their money and the impact of their money on the company itself directly. So they will often take board seats and add value by introducing you to a larger network or help in terms of strategy, hiring, and financials. And we will talk about this later quite in details when I talk again about the values of the investors. So more importantly, the insights and data that they can provide you about the target market. They are like consultants for you, and that they can work with various companies and gain a mosaic of insight. So it's very important you first to define your needs clearly, to target the right investors in order not to waste your time or their times. Okay, and again, we will talk about the right investors. So the second type of investors is the strategic investors. So they have a more strategic point of view to investing. It could be because your business either complements their and add value in some way, or even be seen as a competition. They are just willing to buy out. So this people actually coming in a later stages of investment, guys, and this is what we call strategic corporate investors. They coming when they see that you already created a big value in some industry related to their industry. So you might be a competitor for them in the future, or your business can be adding very big value to their industry or their business already. So in this stage, they are coming heavily, and most of the time they acquire the whole entire of the company. So again, these people are very important for you, and you need to list them down from the beginning of your startup, not in the very early stages, but at least from the scale up phase of the project. You need to understand who is your strategic investors, who might be your strategic investors, because this will help you a lot in creating a big value. And I will talk about this in the next slides. So strategic investors may be a bit more forgiving, by the way, and patient when it comes to growth. Because sometimes investors, like I said, the financial investors, they are after 4 or 5 years, but the strategic investors, they might wait for you for 5, 6, 7, 8, even 10 years. So this is important for you to understand the difference between the financial investors and strategic investors. I'm sorry, I know that there's too many details about them, but I just want you to have a highlight about these types, and then you can have more details. And if anyone have a question about them, I will tell you about them more. So let's go to the most important slides here. What investors, with both investors, are looking for in a startup project? So the first thing that any kind of investor, guys, they are looking for a talented and skilled, experienced teams. No matter the brilliant idea you have, regardless the very nice solution you get or the product you are claiming you have, and you are after a big problem in a big market, still, if the team is not a balanced team, if the team is only one-man show, it's risky for any investor to come. So both financial and strategic investors will be very interested in the quality and skills of the people in the business. So make sure your team is balanced and industry specific, and also covers key business aspects like management, technical, sales, and marketing. Even guys, when you start, doesn't mean that you will have all of these guys like full-timer, but at least you need to have advisors with you, to have part-timers, to have freelancers, but your team has to be balanced. You cannot start, and this is, we are seeing this a lot, especially with engineers. Engineers always start their projects, the startup projects, and they are going heavily to the labs, they're introducing the idea, but they are not, they don't have any idea about marketing, they don't have any idea about sales. And at the end of the day, guys, startup is a business, is a project. So you need to have all of the project parameters, and you need to have a team to cover all of these parameters of the project. So make sure that you have in your team marketing people, sales people, management people. If you are not coming from management background, you need someone to help you. You be the CTO and get someone to be the CEO of the company. It's not something wrong or mistake. It's important for you and very important for the investors. The second important parameter, guys, and criteria for any investor is the growth potential in your choosing markets. So investors are always seeking high growth businesses. So operating in high growth markets with room for expansion and with the skills and scalable infrastructure to grow. So market growth is extremely important for any investor. So let's say that we are in Bahrain and you are coming with a local nice idea, but you are telling the investors, hey guys, I'm just focusing in Bahrain for the coming 5-10 years. I'm telling you, no one will have any interest to invest with you. Why? Bahrain, at the end of the day, is a small market, but it's a very good gate to other big markets like Saudi Arabia and other Gulf markets. So you have always to have this vision that you are scalable projects. You can go to other markets. You are starting in Bahrain to be your testing market because you are from there, and you are expanding after 1-2 years from now, and you already writing down and drawing your roadmap, telling the investors, I have the plan to go after 1-2 years from now to this bigger market. So you will have what we call the market opportunity. You will start with Bahrain, then you go to Saudi Arabia, then you go to Egypt, for example, or going to the Middle East. So you have that potential in front of any investor. Then you are, now they are after you. They will have interest in this project because they know that you can be there. Then, guys, the third one is extremely important, especially these days, what we call the USP, or the unique selling proposition. You can make both of this, like unique selling proposition and the unique value propositions. You need both, guys. Why is that? We met a lot of our friends, startup friends, and he's just claiming that, hey, Ahmed, we are very unique project and we don't have any competitors. So this is wrong. No one have no competition. You definitely have competitors, direct competitors, indirect competitors. You always have competitors. And by the way, it's good to have competition. Sometimes some startups come to investors and telling them, I don't have any direct competition in the local market or even in the regional markets. I'm telling you, this is very risky, and the investors will have a question mark. Why is that, guys? Because any investor wants to compare you to someone. He wants to make sure that this project has something like it, maybe in the United States or United Kingdom or France or Germany or any other place in the world, someone doing the same like you did, but you customize and localize your project with some unique value propositions you added to fit your market. But the same projects have been done and have been succeeded and have been raised a lot of funds That means that you, the investor, be more comfortable when he come to invest with you. When you come to, or when you ask for the raising fund, you can tell him, hey guys, I have a similar competitor for me in United States or England or even Egypt or even other countries, and they are very successful now. And I'm adding some nice features to what they have done, so I can claim that I will make the same success or more even. So it's very important, guys, to have a what we call competitive landscape and direct and indirect competition. Sometimes, let's say that you are targeting, like we in TullabApp, we are targeting students. So it doesn't make sense when I say that my competitors is just this app that they just targeting students in the same area that we are targeting. Actually, no. The indirect competition here is TikTok, is Snapchat, because I'm competing on the time of the students. The same if you are targeting children, if you are targeting businessmen, you are targeting actually, or you're competing on their time. So you have many competitors and you want to convince your customer to replace what they use or to replace the time they are consuming other solutions with the solution you have. So this is what we call the unique selling proposition. You need to have a defensible propositions, a defensible value and selling proposition in order to compete in this disruptive market. Then the fourth parameter, my friends, is the go-to-market strategy, which is very important for you as a startup. And you cannot at all start your project without having a clear go-to-market strategy. Starting with defining very clear, what is your product or service offering? Very clear. So I'm starting with what is the problem, then I'm starting with what is my product and what is the service offering exactly. And I need to, when I ask anyone ask you, you just need to say it in 1 sentence or 2 sentences maximum. This is what I'm doing. Then how are you pricing your product or your service? Why you are putting this, if you are a subscription-based solution, or if you have a product you are selling, so why you put this price especially? Why this price? That means you need to have your market analysis, market study, even high-level market study. You need to have what we call some focus groups. You need to ask people, not your friends, not your family. You need to ask the real customers before you go heavily to test the market with your product or your service or your solution. So first, you need, before to go to the pricing, because it's very important to have pricing. So you need to justify the price you put for your service. Then, how are you taking your product or service to the market? So we have many channels, what we call the channels for taking my product or service to the market. So let's say digital marketing, all of the social media channels, the Google AdWords, website traffic, what we call referral campaigns, events and exhibitions, Kickstarters, if you have a product like a hardware product. All of this is the question here that you need to answer before you go. This is how I'm going to take my product or my service or my solution to the market. I'm just here, I'm putting some examples, but there is many other examples for how can I take my product or solution to the market, and you need to be creative, guys. Then what are your distribution channels? And this is a bit difference between the distribution channels and the go-to-market, or how to take it to the market, or the marketing channels. Here, like e-commerce, for example, you have a nice product. So you need to have something to put it there. You need a channel to be able to see you. So a distribution channels, it's very important for you. So let's say that you will put your product on an e-commerce platform like Jumia, like Amazon, like Alibaba, for example. Even if you have, for example, a game, if you are developing a game, so you are going to the game publisher and make sure that they are marketing your game to be seen. So this is what we call distribution channels. Let's say that you have developed, guys, a hardware, nice product, new product. So you might go to the big technology retail malls, like in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia, the big ones like IMAX, and you just go to rent a shelf there to put your product. Okay, so you need to be seen and not to go to the traditional way, or I having my store and putting my products and I'm asking people to come to visit me, this would be costly, will be hectic operationally for you. You need to be always creative and to be cost cautious, especially if you are starting your project in a beginning in this very hard days, guys. So this just some types of distribution channels. The fifth question here is, do you have the right relations to deliver this? And this question is extremely important, guys, because sometimes you have a nice solution or nice service, nice product, and you have a good marketing strategy, but you need to deliver it to the market, but you don't have the right relations, the right network. Now we are in University of Bahrain. This is a big network, very important for you. So you need to take the leverage of something like that. Why is that? Because this will ease the process of introducing your product or service to the market. Some people have a nice products and they just staying home or staying in their offices, trying to shout loudly from their office, but this will have a long time to be there. But if you have the right relations, a right network, with nice PR campaigns, public relation campaigns, with nice being in the good acceleration programs like the University of Bahrain Incubation Center programs, some programs like this, that will be very helpful for you, introducing you to the market and easing for you finding the right distribution channels, finding the right partners for yourself. So then the fifth question is, what does your revenue looks like? So again, here I'm talking about revenue, guys. I'm not talking about profits. So it's very important for any investor. I'm talking here about what investors are looking for. So the ability to demonstrate a proportion of your revenue as recurring, such as through licensing of technology or a sticky customer base, that provides investors with additional comfort around the sustainability of future revenue streams. So this is very important. A big question, do you have a sustainability revenue streams or not? Do you have a different revenue stream channels or not? So that depends on your business model. Is it B2C? Is it B2B? Is it B2G? So you need to define your business models. You need to, as much as you can, when you draw your roadmap, your project roadmap, you start with a business model. Then you have another business model. So you start with B2C model, then you go to a B2B model, then you have a combined between them. So you always have other revenue stream channels that if you face a big problem with one of the channels, so you have another channel can secure you the sustainability of the business. This is even important for you guys before being important for the investors. And this will improve the predictability of forecasts and could attract greater multiple on investments. Finally, in this is defensible IP, or what we call intellectual property. If you have a technology or software or even a product, a unique product, guys, you need to have something to secure, to resist anyone to come to copy what you have done just in a day and night and doing it with just pushing some budget, so he duplicating what you have done in no time. So you need, when you talk to investors, you will hear this question: do you have any defensible IP? Do you have intellectual property? Do you have any deals like patenting? Did you make patent? Do you have rights? Do you have the rights of using this and no one else can do it in Bahrain, for example, or in Gulf countries? So this is important. So I'm not saying that you need to do this from a very early stages, but you need to consider this, especially in the growth stage. Once you are there, once you have a customer base, you will definitely find someone else doing the same you do. You have to understand this. So from the beginning, you need to consider that. You need to communicate with a nice legal lawyers, understanding this, lawyers from this sector, understanding that. And by the way, easily you can find some people like this from University of Bahrain. They can support you, they can help you finding right lawyers, right legal advisors for you to guide you how to make this for your product or your service or your software. So these are the 6 questions that any investors want to hear or to find the right answers from you as a start. Okay, so let's go to 4 questions that this is from my experience. I have seen a lot. I have met, guys, I have met more than 300 startups in different programs and in different competitions. And I'm telling you these 4 questions, if you answering them very clearly from the beginning, you will have no problem raising in the fundraising process, not only in the fundraising process, but even in the future in the relationship with the investors. So let's go to the questions. The first one, guys, is what level of involvement is required and allowed? So this is, I didn't write allowed here, but let me tell you. For example, with angel investors, because they are coming in the early stages and they are taking equity from the company, they will be a board members. So they will have a seat on the board of your company. That means they will be a decision makers with you. So before you go to the investors, you need to define, you and your team, what is the involvement level is allowable to the investors. Because if you don't have this, they will come to affect any decision in your company, even if they have only 15%. You want to expand there, they will tell you no. You want to do this, they will tell you not to do that. They will tell you we don't want this investors in the next stage. They will try to I will say make some obstacles because they have their points of view. It's not you. Yeah, you are a startup with this passion, with this spirit. You want to go fast. They are not like you. They are different, especially the angel investors, because most of them coming from conventional backgrounds. They are not VCs. They are not venture people. Sometimes they are from your family. Sometimes they are from your friends. But if you don't define from the beginning in the agreement or the term sheet, this is the allowable involvement level for you. So this kind of decisions, you are not allowed to be with me in these decisions, but this kind of decision, you are allowed, not only allowed, I require you to be with me in these decisions. This is important. So I talked about the allowable, but the requirements as well, guys. So it's very important that if you are getting an investor, let's say, for example, this investor has a marketing agency. If you didn't ask him in the term sheet, when you agree with him that you want him to help you in the marketing side of the project, he will not help you. He will just give you some advices, some guidance. But if he hasn't any commitment on the deal that you can use his own company in your project, you cannot ask him later. So from the very beginning, when you have an investor, try to make your homework, understand this investor mindset and what is the capabilities of them, what is the strengths they have, so you can use it and you can write it down in the term sheet. So if you write this and if you are very clear about that, you will have no problem in the deal and in the future. The second point, which is extremely important for any investor, is what is the time frame. So all of us guys, especially investors, and we are always telling our friends in the investment side, investing is a long-term game, especially with startups. But it's very important for you and for them to have some idea about the timeline, so you can compare it to your personal expectations. So investors, if I'm talking to you as an investor now, I'm coming to you asking you, hey, I want to know, I'm putting my money and I want to know when I can take my money back. So you need to define, you need to have something like a financial projections to tell me about it. So and you will go with the debate of the evaluation of the startup, and I can tell you about it later. But let's say the evaluating the startup track record can make it easier for the investors and for yourself to approximate how long the investment horizon will be. So the best way, I'm saying the best way to judge the company's potential is the burn rate. And this is, by the way, for any investor, is the first very important question. Simply, what is the burn rate? Simply how much money is being spent each month now, and after 6 months, and after 1 year, and after 2 years from now. And when you go to an investor, you cannot just tell him, I'm going to make this revenue after 1 year. You need to tell him how much you're going to spend after 1 year. And you need to be realistic. And you need to be realistic about the impact of that money on the revenue itself. So as long as you have a realistic burn rate growth, that means this company going to make a nice growth, and we can draw the right time frame about it. So this is about the second very important question. The third one is the expected rate of return. So as I said in the very beginning, when you have both financial investors and even the strategic investors, they need to understand how much I'm going to take out of that. So for any angel investor or even any financial investors, different stages, even the Series A stages, it's typically to anticipate. For the early stages one, they will anticipate something like 30% to 40% range annually. So is that going to be from the first year? No. But when you are going to make your business and you put your plans, after 3 years from now, you're supposed to have at least the third year 100% ROI, return on investment. That means that over a course of 3 years, you have generated 33% ROI. So that is very accepted for any investor. But if you go to these investors, especially the angel investors and the early stage investors, and telling them, guys, after 3 years, I'm getting like 50%, that means over a course of 3 years, it's like 12%, it's 15%, mean that if he put his money in the bank, he will get the same money. It's the bank's rate, we are talking about 10% to 12%, sometimes 8%, but no risk. So he's taking risk. At least you need to tell him that after 3 years from now, the early investors, they will take 35, 40% and more. For the venture capitalists, on the other hand, assume a higher degree of risk, which translates a higher expected rate of return. So analyzing the potential ROI associated with a particular startup is a must for any investor, guys, who are focused on maximizing earnings. Again, returns depend on the type of industry, types of what market you are playing in, types of the startup itself. But it's a very important something to highlight here, guys, is where is the real value here for investors? How I'm sure that investors seeing the value in my company? Is it only the direct return on investment? No. If I'm as an investor coming to just ask you for an ROI, that it's better for me as an investor and for you as a startup to ask for a financial deal, not an equity deal. What is a financial deal? I'm coming on a project basis. So instead of someone putting with you 100,000K, no, he will put this 100,000K for only 6 months for a specific project in your company, and he's taking a return on investment after 1 year or something like this. No equity sold, and you just take money to make a finance in your company. This is a solution. But if you are asking for an equity, the real value here, guys, is the valuation of the company. So if I'm coming today to invest with you with $10,000, and the company value is $100,000, meaning that I'm taking 10% of the company, my aim, my main target as an investor, and you yourself as a startup, is make that company value after 2 years to be $1 million value. So my money, the $10,000, after 2 years, if I exited, it will be $100,000. This is the real money. This is the real value. So when you go to the investor, you need to understand this. You need to be very, very clear about the growth in the value of the company. The question is, how can I explain this to the investor? How can I do it in a very right way? I will tell you in a very brief words. You need to define the exit strategy. So if you have a definite exit strategy in place, this is required for the investors. And I'm talking here about 2 types of exit strategies, guys. The full exit of the company. Why is that? Because you are a startup, and the main characteristic of the startup that it's not inherited, guys. The startup means that it's going to be exited. You make this startup because you are going to exit after 5 years or after 7 years or after maximum 10 years. This is not a company that you are going to inherit to your son, that your son, when he's, or your daughter, when he or she growing up, they will manage in this company. This is not the startup. This is a traditional business, which is okay. But the startups is always about exit. So if you draw what we call the exit roadmap, okay, when you start your company, after some time you have proved the concept and you hit the market and you get some customer bases, now this is the right time to list down the strategic investor that they can buy the company, the full company, after 5 or 6 years from now. Okay, then let's say that your company working in the e-commerce, so you might have a potential to be sold to Alibaba or Amazon. From this day, you need to see what criteria that Alibaba put to buy this company on $100 million after 5 years, or $500 million after 6 years, or after 7 years. Then you take it back. Take it backwards. You know the KPIs you need to reach out. You put it in front of your team and in front of yourself. Then you draw your roadmap from today. I have this milestone to reach this point. This what we call the exit roadmap. If you have it, guys, and you present it to any investor, it will be very sexy, very lucrative for any investor to come to invest with you, because he's seeing a potential that you are going to be sold after 5, 6, 7 years to a big strategic investor that they can buy you as a unicorn or as half unicorn, something like $500 million. And we have seen this in our region now in these days many times. Okay, so there's too many examples successful, but definitely there is too many failure examples as well. That's why, again, one of the main reasons that you need an exit strategy, not only for the successful project, but an exit might be executed to a non-performing investment or close an unprofitable business. In this case, the purpose of the exit is to limit the losses. Another reason an exit is a significant because of the significant change in the market, like due to catastrophic event like COVID, what we have now, many projects that can depend on restaurants, for example, they closed. Why? Because they didn't have an exit strategy, so they faced a very hard times. If you are well prepared from very beginning, that if you faced a very high risk, very big challenges, you are clear to yourself and to your investor that how can I exit you and how you can exit your investors, that will put yourself and your investors in a very right place to negotiate with you in a good terms for yourself. So these guys, the main 4 questions, again, the level of involvement, the time frame of investment, the expected rate of return, and finally the clear exit strategy. Now I will tell you in just 2 slides the essential negotiation tactics you need when you go to the fundraising process and dealing with investors. I'm telling you, not everyone has the skills needed to negotiate successfully. Negotiation itself has a lot of things to it. There is a big courses, even master degrees in negotiation. It's hard ways, and negotiating with investors is harder, especially these days. But there are a few things you can do to better help you make your position known for investors and even for yourself. The first one, you need to justify your position. You don't just walk into negotiations without being able to back up your position. Come armed with information. So you need to be always ready, that you have done your researches, you have done everything, you are clear about what the questions I told you about, the value propositions, you are clear about everything. You're coming with the pitch deck, with the presentation, with your financial statements or financial projections and plans. You have a clear market strategy and go-to-market strategy, and all of what I say, guys, is not a rocket science. Now you can Google all of what I have said now. You can have advisors with you. You can have freelancers with you, helping you prepare this kind of documents. You can be part of the programs like incubation centers with the great people of University of Bahrain. They can help you a lot prepare this kind of documents, so you'll be armed in front of investors. The second thing is the alternatives. Are there any alternatives to what either you and the other party initially want? If a direct agreement is not possible, so the parties need to seek substitute outcomes. So you need to consider, if I have something in my mind, I don't need to be very tough, very fixed, what I call, you need to be elastic, you need to be more flexible about it, because dealing with investors always need to have some flexibility in some terms. And that depends on your needs, actually, when you define your needs very, very clear. So you need to see, am I have any alternatives? If he refused this, if you have any alternatives, you can just tell him, if you refuse this, I have that. The third one is the level of commitment. I have told you about this before. So again, it's very important for yourself and for the investor from the very beginning, the level of commitment for you and for them. What is the commitment they are going to deliver for you? Not only money, the networking. If they have companies, if they have, let's say they have financial consultancy firm, they need to tell you they can help you with this firm. So this kind of commitments you need to agree in the negotiation part. Then you need to have realistic options. What options may be possible to achieve the outcomes you need? So don't go, and we see this a lot. I am telling you from a fact. I have met a startup. They have a good project, and they just come to the investors and they tell guys, we need $1 million and our value is 20 million. So we are giving 5%, but they don't have anything. They are in the very early stage. How come you come with this value? It's closed the door from the very beginning. You cannot take any money from any investor with that attitude. After a few days, the guy called me, Ahmed, I know that you have some influence in the investor. I can go to just 3 million valuation. I told him, guy, you cannot even tell me this. You come from 20 million to 3 million in 5 days. How come? If we negotiate with you, we will take you to 500,000. This is what I'm calling you guys. You need to be realistic, very realistic. Then you need create value. So don't ever negotiate until you have created value to the potential investors or partners. And when I talk about value, I'm talking about the 4 questions I have told you about it before. Then the price, the valuation of the company. It's always better not to discuss the price or the cost or the valuation until you are ready to negotiate and close. So if you are not ready to negotiate it, don't go. Or you might go to, and we see this a lot, to test, to see what investors' feedback is telling you about your project. But you are not willing to have the raising fund right now. So you are not willing to negotiate the price now. Even if you say it, but you are not saying to close. So it's not a problem. But it's better not to say, as long as you're not going to close the deal. Then you have the no concept. Having the ability to say no to a bad deal. It's extremely important in the negotiation. If you don't have the ability to say no, you will be squeezed, and the investors are smart and they are going to take over the company. So take care about this. Then the clear ask. Remember that you will never get anything you don't ask for. People not giving you gifts. Investors actually are not, there is no angels here. Even the angel investors, I'm always saying, guys, there is no angel in the business. It's business. So you need to be very clear about what you need, and you ask for anything you need and you negotiate it. So I believe I have done. I'm sorry for all of that. So this is my conclusion. Guys, there is no hard and fast rules for raising capital from investors. However, there are a few guiding principles that can help you differentiate yourself from the numerous other entrepreneurs and startups competing for that equity check from the investors. You are competing together on that check.